You know that feeling when you're 9 years old and the 3-month summer vacation stretches out before you like an endless golden eternity? You've got time to build a fort, catch 1,000 fireflies, and basically reinvent civilization in your backyard. Now flash forward to adulthood. You blink on a Monday morning and somehow it's already Friday evening. You eat a sandwich and suddenly a full year has passed. You look up from your phone and you're receiving invitations to your high school reunion, which you're absolutely certain you just attended last week. So what gives? Why does the universe decide to put our lives on fast forward the moment we hit 25? Is it just a sign that we're getting old and uninteresting? Well, partially. But the real reason is a deeply weird mix of mathematical illusions, a brain that is fundamentally lazy, and a biological timer that is actively messing with your head. Let's start with the most boring but undeniably logical explanation. The math, it's purely proportional. When you are 10 years old, a single year equals exactly 10% of your entire existence. That's a huge chunk of memory, experience, and identity. Your brain unconsciously measures time against the total amount of time you've already lived. So when you turn 50, that same year is only 2% of your life. It's a literal fraction. Think of it like this: a year is a marble. When you only have 10 marbles in your pocket, adding one more feels like a massive addition. When you have 500 marbles, adding one more barely registers. This is known as the proportional theory, and it's the go-to answer for psychophysicists. But here is the catch: math alone doesn't explain why you lose an entire Tuesday afternoon to a single work email. The math describes how we remember time, but it doesn't explain how we experience it. For that, we have to look at the real villain, your brain's obsessive need to save energy. When you're a child, literally everything is a first. You get your first paper cut. You taste your first sip of soda that burns your nose. You see the ocean for the first time. Your brain is working overtime, burning insane amounts of glucose to encode these novel experiences, build fresh neural pathways, and store vivid, high-definition memories. You remember the smell of chlorine because it was your first swim lesson. You remember the sound of the ice cream truck because it was a rare luxury. Now, as an adult, you fall into a beautiful, soul-crushing routine. You drive the same highway to work, eat the same boring chicken bowl for lunch, and scroll through the same 10 apps on your phone. Your brain spots this pattern, looks at the lack of new data, and says, "This is a waste of hard drive space. I'm deleting it." And it does. Neurologists call this temporal telescoping or time compression. Because you are not storing vivid, unique memories, your brain lacks mental markers to measure the passing of time. When you look back at a week, you don't see 7 distinct days, you see one blurry, repetitive loop. Without markers, time feels empty, and empty time feels like it passes incredibly fast. That's why a boring meeting can feel like it lasted 1,000 years in the moment, but when you look back at the entire week, it vanished into thin air. Now, if you want to get a little spooky, let's talk about biology. Your body's internal clock is physically slowing down, your metabolism decreases, your heart rate drops, your cellular renewal processes take longer to cycle. Neuroscientists have found that our internal biological rhythms, known as the suprachiasmatic nucleus, the master clock in your brain, actually ticks slower as we age. And here's the kicker: when your internal clock runs slow, you perceive the external world moving faster to compensate. It's like wearing a watch that runs 10 minutes slow. Everything outside feels like it's on fast forward to catch up. We experience the seconds ticking by differently because our own biological gears are grinding slower. Your body is literally reporting fewer ticks per minute, making the world feel like it's rushing past you. Let's also bust a common myth. You've heard that time flies when you're having fun. That's actually true, but only when you are deeply focused in the present. When you are in the flow, you stop tracking seconds entirely and time dissolves. The nasty flip side is that stress makes time feel painfully slow. When you are anxious or terrified, your brain goes into hypervigilance mode. Your amygdala takes over and your brain tracks every single second like a security camera. You know this feeling, waiting for a crucial email reply or sitting in a dentist's chair. One agonizing minute feels like an hour. But here's the sad truth for modern adults: we spend most of our waking hours in a mild, comfortable haze. We aren't in panic mode and we aren't fully present either. We just zone out. And zoning out without the adrenaline of fear to slow things down makes time speed up. So our adult years are a unique cocktail: low novelty, high repetition, a slow biological clock, and a lack of stress-induced panic. It is the perfect recipe for time to vanish into a black hole. So can we hack this system? Yes, surprisingly easily. You do the one thing adults absolutely despise doing: you force yourself to be unpredictable. You take a completely different route to work. You pick up a bizarre hobby: pottery, martial arts, or competitive yodeling. You travel to a new place, even if it's just a different neighborhood 3 blocks away. Force your brain to wake up and record fresh data. When you do this, you aren't just filling time, you are creating mental anchors. When you look back on that month, your brain will go, "Oh, I remember that day we got lost and that day we tried that weird food." The month suddenly feels dense and long. You can't make the years physically longer. The calendar will always have 365 days, but you can make the days feel denser and fuller. Time isn't actually speeding up, your brain is just getting too comfortable and lazy to pay attention. So do something stupidly new today, or you're going to blink again and it's going to be 2040. And trust me, you don't want to be explaining to a teenager what a social distancing meme was. Get out of the routine and reclaim your perception.